Veteran F1 expert and commentator Mark Hughes has been trying to predict which of the teams, Ferrari or Red Bull, will have better chances at crossing the checkered flag first for the upcoming weekend at the 2022 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Hello, and welcome back to another video, everybody. Today, we're going to be looking at who is more likely to emerge victorious at the race in Imola this weekend. With Ferrari making rounds in the F1 world, and defending champion Red Bull facing some huge reliability issues, these two are the ones to look out for this season. But before we get right into it, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more of our updates. Now, let's get right into it. If we try to look at it through statistics, Ferrari is currently F1's #1 team of the season, with defending champions Mercedes trailing behind, and Red Bull is currently ranked 3rd in the current Constructors' Championship standings. But as we've seen in the last 3 races, it's been a battle between Ferrari and Red Bull drivers, with the latter showing a lot of superiority when it comes to the end of straight speeds. It was definitely proven when Max Verstappen had clinched the top prize during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, wherein the Jeddah Corniche circuit was pretty high speed. Ferrari, on the other hand, performs better at circuits with low speed corners and acceleration. The race for this weekend would be very interesting to watch, since both teams will seem to have equal advantages and disadvantages. The track at Imola has an extended high-speed section in its first sector, which is then followed by a sequence of downforce and acceleration rewarding corners connected by just a bit of straight. Now, how are they working so differently from one another? Well, for starters, Ferrari runs with more F1 spoilers than Red Bull. That's the main part of how their strengths and weaknesses differ so much from one another, all while fitting them to their own accord. When constructors choose the level of their rear wings, they have to keep in mind that there is a sacrifice that has to be made between downforce and drag, and that would usually depend on the car. If a car's underbody is effective in creating a downforce, then that will be one of the tell signs on how they pick their rear wings. Furthermore, the performance of a car's engine is also something they would have to consider. In the cases of Ferrari and Red Bull, it seems like the former has more engine power and the latter creates more downforce, but we're not entirely sure. Now, about the fact that everything would just depend on how it would fit into the car. There's always going to be a sweet spot on how they would be able to work well together. With Ferrari, having a greater wing area than Red Bull tends to do them well. This generally means that when the track requires more wing level, Ferrari will be expected to wing that. On the contrary, if the track would require less level, Red Bull will be the one taking over. The Ferrari also seems to have more power at low revs. That, or it's just short geared. The last 3 races have suggested that with the corners taken by Ferrari and Red Bull, with the former having an upper gear, it looks as though its overall gearing is shorter than that of the latter. The key to beating Red Bull's greatest strength on end of straight speed this season is to combine shorter gearing and release more power. If there's a good advantage with corner exits, it can be utilized to cover a lot of distance before the car with lower drag gains the advantage to go faster. It's also very important to consider the duration of how long it'll take from the start of the straight until the end of it, instead of how fast they could each go through the speed trap towards the end. It's very doable and won't be costly for a low drag car that's significantly faster through the speed traps to take a little while to reach down to the straight compared to the car that goes towards the bottom of the speed trap list. However, it is important to note that the car is deemed faster through the speed traps doesn't mean that it's faster in the straights. Now, we're going on to the specifics of Ferrari and Red Bull with this one, and how they both compare. It's best to base their performances back on the first season's race in Bahrain, wherein Max didn't get to finish. It can be observed that Red Bull was speeding through faster at the end of the pit straight. It got slower when it was getting out the first and second turn sequences than Ferrari, and got slower when it was running into the following straight. But it gained its advantage when it went faster by the time they reached turn 4's braking point. Red Bull was at the point of going down the pit straight at a significantly lesser time than Ferrari, even though it had entered slower. Contrastingly, Ferrari was running faster in the short start up to turn 4 in a lesser time, noting that they became slower at the end. The Red Bull did not have a shorter straight between the 10th and 11th turns, and subsequently did not have enough pace and was still running slower at the end of the straight than the prancing horses. In Australia, Red Bull has observed that there has been a rear tyre graining on their car, so they decided to increase the rear wing's angle in relation to Ferrari's. Ferrari still had a greater wing area, but Red Bull was catching up. Because of this, Ferrari's strength compared to Red Bull became evident. The proof, however, might be affected because of how Red Bull had to go through the reliability issues in Sector 3. But the pattern was given a glimpse into how Red Bull becomes slower when it has a bigger wing area. When you try to evaluate the circuit at Imola, the first sector looks like Red Bull's best sector, since it has a very long flat-out blast punctuated by 2 chicanes. The rest of the circuit, well, it looks a lot like Ferrari's going to be enjoying it more. But at the same time, those are all just based on the assumption that nothing goes wrong in the race this weekend. For all F1 enthusiasts out there, we all know things can get pretty heated and unpredictable, especially with regard to how hungry and competitive the drivers are. We also have to factor into the question of whether Red Bull has finished fixing their issues with their fuel systems and engines, because that is costing them a lot, especially when they've got a lot to lose with Verstappen, the current WDC defending champion, in their garage. Verstappen has only finished 1 out of 3 races and is currently number 6 on the standings. That doesn't sound very defending champion to me. His chances of a championship repeat are getting slimmer and slimmer by the day, but we're not one to say that it's definitely out of reach for him now. Ferrari, though, after being 3rd in previous years right after the rivalry of Mercedes and Red Bull, is rising through the ranks and waking up again as the F1 classic team that everyone knows it is. With that being said, there's definitely a lot more pressure now that Charles Leclerc is now the top driver to beat, with George Russell of Mercedes right after. And they've recently signed in Carlos Sainz for a contract extension of 2 years. It seems like the team is not going to be reshuffling their drivers anytime soon, and that they're in a very happy place right now. And who wouldn't be, right? Mercedes? Well, what's up with Mercedes these days? It's not like they're performing badly, but they sure are having some issues of their own right now, especially when they're in a very crucial position to defend their 8 Constructors' Championships from Ferrari. They currently only have 65 points in the ranking compared to Ferrari's 104. But one thing to remember though is that a lot of things are still brewing for the F1 teams. And this is just the beginning. The season's main storyline has not been written yet. We are only given a sneak peek at what is possibly going to happen. Everything is still about to happen. With all of that being said, who do you think will win this year's race at Imola? Let us know in the comments section down below. And as always, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more of our updates.